Hello, my little Luxxes. This is another episode of Coffee and Cosplay, and I am your host, cosplayer Charsie Luxxx. And this is another episode that will be revolved around a true story from me, from moi. So for this story time, it will be around the theme of unlucky souls. And of course, because of me adding a sparkly lip gloss to my matte lipstick, it comes off very easily. So we are back to using a straw for my coffee. Which, whatever. So if you are brand new here, welcome. This is a channel for the weird, the unusual, the freaks that are out there in the world. Everybody is welcome, except for assholes. They can show themselves out the door.
There's the door.
There's the door, bitch!
But for the month of March, I am doing the theme called Unlucky Souls, and it's just taking any idea that is revolved around Irish horror, Irish folklore. Now, mine isn't going to be based on that, except that, you know, my ancestors on my mom's side of the family for heritage, I do have Irish in me.
I'm a leprechaun!
I'm an orange.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I guess that counts as that. But for today's story, I am going to be talking about a certain situation that my husband and I had to deal with for a very, very long time. And that was the unfortunate side of when we got our vehicle, our very awful vehicle, which was our Sonic. Obviously, when you're buying a brand new car, you're not viewing it as an unlucky omen in any way or form. But I will talk about buying this car and the excitement of being able to finally afford this thing and what ends up happening and the unlucky side to this story. So my husband and I went to college together and did all of our classes, several of our first jobs we had while we were together, and we had the one vehicle. We had our Hyundai, and we were thankful to have that car. And obviously, when you are newlyweds and you're young, you're going through college, there really isn't a lot of financing. There's not a lot of funds. So we were happy with our one car, and generally to make it easier, that's why we based a lot of our class schedules to be very similar. And same thing with getting a job at the same place, have about the same hours. It's easier to drive to said place with only having one vehicle. Well, time goes on, and in 2012, when my husband and I both graduated from our college, it turned into finding our careers. Well, my husband worked at a different job than what I ended up getting, and we're in totally different locations. So having just the one vehicle wasn't convenient anymore. So we would have to figure out scheduling where one person would have to drop off the person at work, and then later on someone would have to pick them up, and we had different hours where he worked mornings and I worked evenings. So it really wasn't convenient just having the one car. So in 2018, decided to finally go and try financing and getting a second vehicle. And of course, you're shopping around, you're looking around, and we came across this little 2000, and now I can't remember if it was a 2015 or 2016 black Sonic, or a Chevy Sonic, as you would want to call it. The reason why I don't remember the year to this vehicle is because I ended up hating this car, so I don't really care what year it was.
I don't care. I don't care.
It's not important. So obviously, when we're first financing for this, we get approved for a loan and we're going through the process of getting this Sonic. We're excited about it. It feels like good news. We're finally gonna be be able to have that second car, and we don't have to try carpooling or trading off the car. Things can finally get easier for me and my husband.
Well, they were wrong then, weren't they?
We started looking around Christmas time, and it was approved, and we went through the finalization just before New Year's. So it would have been the day before New Year's, got the Sonic, took it off the lot, finally had our car. Well, we start with the first problem, which the Sonic has tires that are not made for winter tires. And we bought this car in December. It was snowing, and trying to drive on it, it felt like we were driving on bald tires. Like, it wasn't good. We're sliding all over the road. So, first project, we had to buy 4 brand new tires for the car, even though the tires it had were perfectly fine, but they were made for summertime. They were not high tread tires made for winter. And when you live in northern Illinois, you need to have good quality tires that you're not going to be slipping around on. So that was first problem, which doesn't seem like that big of an issue. It just sucks when you just spend a huge portion of your finances for a down payment, and then you gotta pay another chunk for 4 brand new tires.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
So I had a half an hour drive to work, so I got the option to have the Sonic, because it was a newer version than what mine and my husband's Hyundai was. He only had a 5-minute drive to work, so it was very easy for the decision to be made that I would use the newer car to drive the half an hour to work. Not that big of a deal. It just so happens that at the job that I worked holidays. So I'm thankful for the job that I have now, that I don't have to work holidays anymore. But at this job, I did. So I was working New Year's Day, get out to the car, and she's not starting. And it just so happened that we were having below freezing weather. We're thinking, okay, because of this, the battery died. And since it's been sitting in a lot, it's just unfortunate bad luck. Well, the other problem was when we called the company that we bought the car from, it's the holidays. Nobody can pick it up until after the holidays. And it was a prolonged holiday for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. So I had to have my poor husband come drive out there in this below freezing weather to come and pick me up. And we had to leave the car at my job's parking lot because there was nothing we could do. You can't get a tow. And so that was the other bad luck. Should have started seeing this as an omen at this point.
Jeez, the bad luck thing is really bad today, huh?
It's bad every day, honestly.
Because it just kept continuing. And you want to be excited about having a brand new vehicle. In this one's case, there's just something bad about that poor little Sonic that it just was nothing but bad luck for us from here on out. And like I said, it started right away, right when we got it. And then the following winter, one day we were driving and noticed that the heat wasn't getting warm. So it would have been the winter time because we got it in winter of 2017. So this would have been winter 2018, I want to say. Yeah, because it feels like we got it in 2018 because it was literally like at the end of December 2017. So in the winter of 2018, the following year, is when we started having other problems. And it was one of those days driving in the car, and actually I think the first time it happened, I was by myself, and I was driving home from work. It was very cold. Like, the heat wasn't getting warm at all.
Ooh, good Lord, man, this is awful. Honey, come outside and feel this.
So we started investigating, trying to find out, and because I've never had this issue before with another vehicle, it wasn't like screaming at us what the problem could be. Well, I even brought up to my husband, I'm like, what about the coolant? I'm like, I remember my dad talking about needing to add coolant if the car was cold. And of course, when you think of coolant, you think of cooling system, which it is. But it also does the opposite as well, is that it also is used for the heater. Sure enough, the tank for the coolant was completely empty. Here there was a slow leak or something in it because we poured new coolant in it, and within a day it was back to being cold again. So had to take it in and get it looked at, because obviously there was a leak somewhere, because when we bought the car, we got the insurance or the warranty for engine related. It would get taken care of, but we didn't get the full one. Whatever the insurance that we had gotten, or guarantee warranty, whatever, wasn't covering the coolant system. So I had to pay for that out of pocket.
God damn it!
And it's like, okay, that wasn't cheap. But it kept happening. And guaranteed every winter time, it would go out at least 2 or 3 times. And the one time my husband had it, and he was out shopping, and once he went out, packed all the groceries in, and started up the car, all of a sudden he noticed that it was making funny noises and the engine was smoking. So turned everything off and opened the hood, come to find out that there was just coolant spraying out of one of the hoses and going all over the engine. And we had just gotten this serviced. So he calls the dealership again that we bought it from, since it's supposed to be their warranty to take care of it and everything. But because our warranty didn't cover everything on the car, once again, it was to fix the hoses and the coolant system, and that had to pay for it out of pocket. And it just got to the point where it's like every 6 months we had to get this thing fixed again, and it was getting more expensive every single time. And usually it was anywhere from like $300 to $500 depending on what issue was going on and what damage it was causing every time. Obviously when the hose went out and it was spraying all over the engine, had to take care of that. You just get to the point where you are just so fed up with a vehicle, and with us having to get it serviced every 6 months, if not even less time than that. And when you gotta have it continually being serviced and being fixed, it's frustrating, and you're just angry at something that you just don't even want it anymore because it's not even worth the money that you put into it.
No, don't like that.
And the final straw was when my husband was hanging out at a friend's house, and he had quite a trip to go, so he'd taken the Sonic because the Sonic was better quality than the Hyundai. Well, it was one of those days where all of a sudden, while he was driving back home, and it's super late at night, like probably around 11 o'clock midnight, and the check engine light comes on. All of a sudden the car starts sputtering on him, and he's got to pull over to the side of the road, and she's not turning over, she's not doing anything for him. Car is dead on the side of the road. Of course, he's got to get a hold of me and see if I can drive out there, or if he can find a friend to come take him home, because he had barely left his friend's house before and got on the highway to head home when the car broke down on him. So luckily, a Good Samaritan had come along, and he was driving to the city where we live, so gave him a ride. So of course my husband is texting me and calling me and letting me know this information so that if something happened, at least I would know what happened. But this was a Good Samaritan, so even brought him all the way into town, dropped him off. At that point in time, we had the decision of, okay, now we have to get a hold of the dealership again and get somebody to come out and pick up this car, and have to pay for the tow truck again and get this car looked at, and it's the same problem all over again. And we're fed up with it. And in December of 2020 was when we finally sat down with our dealership and said, hey, we want another vehicle. We're fed up with this Sonic. We are always in here. They have it on record every single time it's in the shop. So wanted to start looking at other cars. Luckily, we finally had found the car that we really wanted, but it was out of our price range. This is when we started getting some good luck. And the owner of the dealership, recognizing our names and the fact that there's been several problems with this stupid Sonic that we had, and so we were going to just continue looking for other cars, ones that would have been more in our price range. When the owner was asking our car salesman, like, what, he noticed that the Buick was still sitting in the parking lot. And he's like, I thought that couple was really interested in getting that car. And our salesman let him know that it was out of our price range and that we just couldn't afford doing the down payment and everything. And obviously with what we still owed on that stupid Sonic and everything, that we couldn't afford it.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
And I am incredibly grateful for what the dealership owner ended up doing, because him knowing who we were and the problems that we had with the Sonic, and we had originally bought the Sonic from them in the first place, that they went through some records and found a way that they made the decision, they paid off the Sonic for us. So all we had to do was literally just come in with our down payment and pay for the Buick. But before, with the Sonic and everything, it wouldn't have been possible. So when they did this for us, they literally chopped like $7,000 off the whole thing. So I'm incredibly grateful that we were able to have that opportunity. We were finally able to come in and buy this Buick, and I absolutely love my Buick. That's my car now. But when you go through the rough time that we had, especially, we kind of say it must be Chevys, because we made the joke when we first started looking for cars before we ended up with the Buick. One of the cars that our salesman wanted us to check out was this Chevy, and we kept looking up like we have no interest in the Chevy. After the Sonic, we just had no interest. Of course, he talked us into it. We're sitting in the car, and no sooner do we start the car and it starts sputtering and the check engine light turns on. I'm not even joking. And even the salesman is just like, I don't have a clue. And we finally looked at him after that and we're like, no more Chevys. No more Chevys.
Nope.
It's like, I don't blame you. Wouldn't know shit. So to go through that much bad luck with the Sonic and how much I just ended up hating that car. And obviously I still have some little issues with the Buick here and there, but nothing compared to the Sonic. There's just no. So I'm incredibly grateful that we got the opportunity to be able to afford to get the Buick. I mean, we were going to end up with another car no matter what. We just had to find one that would have been in our price range. I'm thankful that the owner did this for us. And on top of that, it was at Christmas time, so it was like the perfect Christmas gift we could have gotten. And on top of that, we did that in 2020. The following year, even like right away in like January, February of 2021, is when the car market blew up. Or I should say, the used car market just got expensive from that point in time until, well, just recently now in 2023, the price is finally going back down again. But for a time there, I would not suggest to anybody to buy a used car because the price was skyrocketing anywhere from like $7,000 to $15,000 more than what it was worth. It was ridiculous. And it was a seller's market. If you had a used car and you wanted to sell it real high, you could. It definitely wasn't a buyer's market.
Shut up and take my money!
Obviously, we always have the jokes about like vehicles that go out and have their little issues and that, but the Sonic just was bad luck. I'm glad it's gone. I am so glad it's gone. So it was perfect to talk about the Sonic for Unlucky Souls, because that is exactly how my husband and I felt about this car. From the moment we got it, we had nothing but problems and issues, as she always needed to be fixed all the time, and it was frustrating. And the one day I even remember it was me, my husband, and one of my friends. we were all hanging out together, and we met up with several other friends up at this one town because we went to a thing that was called Adult Skate, where yes, you go to an old skate rink and it's 21 and above, so you can be drinking and skating, and of course we know how well that mixes. But I remember on our way home that it started getting cold. And obviously it was a lovely 35-minute to 40-minute drive from the place that we were at, and it was freezing out. It's always around the below freezing is when the car shows its true colors and has its issues, and the coolant system went out again. So we were freezing driving back home. And it was miserable, and I felt so bad for my girlfriend that went with us, because it's like, I am so freaking sorry. Like, just, you feel so embarrassed where it's like, oh my god, this stupid car broke down again. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful to be done with that car and that it's gone now. I pity the soul that would have bought it afterwards, because I'm sure the dealership just fixed her back up again and sold it, because when we brought it on the lot, the check engine light was on again, and we're like, we're done. If that wasn't a clear sign, was when we took it in to trade it in for the Buick, the check engine light turned on. Bye, car. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that little unlucky tale. Share in the comments down below let me know some of your bad luck stories. Did you ever have a vehicle that just was so miserable and bad luck that you hated and couldn't wait to get rid of too? Or just anything that just, any bad omen that was out there. Let me know, share your stories with me. But as always, thank you so much for joining me here on another Coffee and Cosplay. And just thank you for allowing me to have a platform where I could just talk about these silly old stories of mine. And Coffee and Cosplay will probably also turn into something where I might even just do modern vent stories or anything like that, because I've had several moments that are just been really shitty days at work where you need to go to your friends and you just need to like vent about how bad of a day it was, and just how shitty some people can be. And
you know, there is nothing worse than being wide awake and scared and by yourself.
Oh, yes, there is. Being wide awake and scared and by yourself without a double fudge chocolate cheesecake in the freezer. I'll get the silverware.
Feel better already.
But yeah, we will see how Coffee and Cosplay develops. Obviously, this is the same costume I was in for my last episode, but just a little bit of a change. I added a cute little sweater because I was cold. It is still winter time here. We have our warmer days, which is nice, but I swear I'm cold-blooded. I am always freezing. Even in the summertime, if I go into air conditioning, I still have a sweater on. So once again, thank you for joining me here and joining my weirdness with me. And if you would like to follow me on my other social medias, you can follow me on my Twitter for Charsie Luxxx with 3 X's, or on my Instagram for Charsie87. And if you are brand new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We would love to have you join the luxxxycharms family. And no matter what time of the day it is, I hope you have a luxxxycharms kind of day. Bye! Coffee and Cosplay, and I'm your, well, years will hit. But it definitely wasn't the buyer's market. And I wanna, and if you're brand new, and this is what I have to say to the Sonic.
Bye, bitch!